Well, gamers, my ADHD is showing. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start off the palette that I already started. I'm painting the Celestial Fulcrum Battle Engine Acolyte for the Hordes Battle Miniatures game from Privateer Press. And I started with the black. I've already been painting for, I don't know, maybe 4 minutes. I forgot to record. My ADHD kicked in, piece of wood fell out of the fire, so I got a little distracted. There's two basic ways to paint black, and they are basically, you can paint the figure or whatever is going to be black, and then you can highlight with a blue. Or you can paint it blue and highlight the bottom. You do a lot of washes, a series of washes and blending to highlight the low portions of the model with black. And I guess technically there's a third way. There's two basic techniques. You start light and go dark, or you start dark and go light. Instead of blue, you can use grays and whites to highlight your model. I really like the effect that the blue does. To me, it's more natural. I'm probably, since there's 3 figures, I'm probably going to do this 3 different ways. I almost never highlight with the gray on the black because I think it's too much accent. But I will go ahead and do one model that way, and I will also paint one model with like a midnight blue, or if you use Vallejo paints, that would be stormy blue. I'll probably add a drop of black to it to make it even darker, and then I will do a black wash towards the bottom of the model and a lighter wash and dry brush towards the top with the blue. And then that'll probably be a finished, pretty much finished piece. But I haven't got to touch these in a while. I don't know if I'm going to do an off the palette on all 3 of them. I'm probably just going to do this one and show you the finished product on the other 2. So, it's a little chilly here, which is why I've got a fire going. I like my fires. They're relaxing. Painting's relaxing. I am going to zoom out just a hair because I'm a little too close. I want a little bit more space to work in. I don't want to try and paint the figure while I'm not looking. Those are dark too. These are dark models. Nice models though, pretty detailed. And can't pick them up. Those are green. Just getting an idea of what I need to paint what. Hit the top of his head here. Try not to go overboard with it, because that's where you're going to see the most, probably the most shading on the model. Again, I have never played this game. I just think this is a really cool model. I have played War Machines games, or the War Machine game, not War Machines game. And it is a pretty good game. We're going to start playing more of it here very soon. As soon as my counterparts get their schedules in order, we're going to start doing more stuff. Now I'm going to take dark flesh tone, switch my brush a little bit, and I'm going to hit his skin areas with the dark flesh tone and the rocks. So now he's actually going to get tough for me to hunt. So his skin areas. Move this brush out of my way. Grab that brush real quick. I missed a spot. It's still got some black on it. Put it away, sort of. Go back to the dark flesh tone. Carefully trying not to get his hood, which I just did. Starting to look like a model. Painted model, I should say. See, I'm banging them off the cardboard and knocking black paint off them all over the place. Easy fix for that. And that easy fix is this. Sticky tack. It is a little heavy though, so he does want to fall. Slide out of the sticky tack a little bit. But that's life. You're just going to have to deal with it. Touch up the spots that I whacked. There's a few more down here. Try not to push on him too hard, because he's just going to fall off. Hit this bottom part real quick. Just enough so people look under there and see that you hit it. That's all I care about. I'm not doing this for money. If I was doing this for money, I'd probably find a way to highlight it. I'm doing this to be an everyday Joe with a painted figure. I hit the rocks. A little heavy. Sorry about that. the dark flesh tone offers a lot of color potential when you use it as a base for rocks, because it has red in it, it has some orange, rusty like color. Then you come back over it with a brown. And it blends nice. And then if you do things like I just did, I thinned my paint a little bit more. Some of that white is going to stick to the high spots a little. And then as you brush, you can go back over it and brush the other pigments down a little bit and put more darkness towards the bottom of the model. Or in this case, it's not really the bottom of the model, but it is effectively the bottom of the model. Careful not to get it on his feet. I don't care if I get my sticky tack painted. That's like a petroleum based product, so the paint will eventually wear off of it. I use it for spray painting and priming my models anyway, so it doesn't matter. I don't use it for poster board or anything like that. This model's long, so he's a little bit more interesting to try and keep on camera. I'm going to just apologize for that repeatedly through this demo. Or through this off the palette. I don't really do painting demos. And I just broke his super glue weld. So we're going to set that aside. And we're going to go back to focusing on him. I'm going to grab a piece of black foam real quick. Set him on the foam. Next, I'm going to go ahead and grab camouflage green. You might be like, what in the world is he grabbing camouflage green for? Well, I'm going to use that as the base coat for his orb here and his little scarf. I'm going to come back over that pretty quick with another color. Not going to dry much because Goblin Green's a little bit washed out with the white, and that's okay because it's a slightly dull color. The other thing I'm going to do right away is I'm going to hit his whole roby ornamenty thingy. His I don't know what the heck it's called, but I'm going to hit all that with brass right away. Get that pretty much out of the way, and then I'm going to come back and highlight it with polished gold or maybe plated silver. And then I'm going to come back, when I hit the other two greens, I'm going to come back with the green and I'm going to do all his little gems on his orb. He's got a good bit of them. So I'm probably going to use my liner for that. A little too much paint on my brush there. That could have been damaging to what we're trying to do. Flip them back over. Get these spots. Not too worried about hitting the spots that are going to be with the green, because the green I'm using is going to be Privateer Press's Crix green, or they might call it necrotic green. With these, you see I have to grab my black here real quick and touch up some spots that I just bumped. That's going to be an ongoing thing, I think, today. We have a headache. This guy is taking shape fast. That's one good thing about the Privateer Press models. They paint fast. And that, in my opinion, is good. It does two things for most players, I would think. One, it encourages them to paint their models because they don't have to spend a lot of time doing it. That is good because that puts painted models on the table, and I believe it is always more fun to play the game with painted models and good-looking terrain. Look at that. Hey, right now, dude's tabletop quality. You don't have to do anything else to this model. Now the hard part. Some dry brushing of the brassy brass. Right down there in the corner. On his robe. Look at that. Takes it up a notch. I almost don't want to dry brush these guys. Dry brush the blue. The black's not. I'm gonna have to probably let this guy dry today. Normally I just paint them right up right away. Now I'm going to grab electric blue is what I'm going to use for the black highlight. Actually, I'm going to hit some black first. I want to touch up some of those spots before I do my dry brushing. Like I did a good job of rubbing his head off there. Now at home, if you want to keep on painting when you do something like this, pause for a second, grab a hairdryer. Put the model underneath the hairdryer for 4 or 5 minutes. Speed dry that paint. Now, since I just did that, I'm going to give that a little bit more time to dry. I'm going to go ahead and grab the necrotic. Is it necrotic? Necrotite green. P3 formula. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the green spots. Ever so lightly. Now when I come back with my dry brush of gold, a lot of this stuff's going to stand right out. And I won't have to do a whole lot more to it. I am going to attempt to do a little bit of lining here. Just to give him some color. Probably going to have to hit that again because I got to get in there and paint his face. But that's life. Stand him up. Hit all these little gem slots. And when the gem slots are done, he's going to look pretty good. He's not master class paint job or expert level paint job, but he already passes for tabletop quality. It's actually probably above tabletop quality. He's got 3 colors. He's got green, black, and brassy brass. And that is the definition of tabletop quality. Guy's looking pretty good for 15 minutes, whatever I've been painting. Close up the green, rinse out my brush. Grab some elf flesh tone, and I'll start a dry brush up on his skin. I'll probably mix some elf flesh tone with the brown here in a minute too, and dry brush the stone. Now, what I'm trying to avoid is making them too light, but at the same time right now I'm thinking this guy's a little too dark. Carefully try and get in his face here. So I'm going to put a little bit heavier coat of the flesh tone on because they need to be a tad bit lighter. Try and get back in here again. Almost looks human. Flip them over. Grab a little bit more. Hit this spot here. Brush it out a little bit. Hit this spot here. Brush that out a little bit. Put his arm down in here. Brush this out a little bit. Set him aside. Grab a stone. I'm going to add a little bit of flesh tone to the dark flesh tone. Actually, yeah, I'm going to add the 2 tones together, I think. For now. I'm going to probably put another shade of dry brush on here. But for now, Now I have a flat brush for this. Pretty dry one. A little heavier than I care for, but dry it off a little bit more. There. Now when I paint rocks, I don't care if I leave those brush marks on there. That just looks like weathered stone to me. I don't care about lining it. See, now I actually think I chose the right color for this. I did 8 coats of paint for this, 8 different dry brushes. I think I'm about there already with 2. See? This is one of the reasons why I like doing this is I have a video record. If I ever, I go back sometimes and look at it and be like, man, if I would have just done this, I'd have been done. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy painting. I would much rather play the game. So I look for ways to get my minis on the table faster. I don't know how often I say it, but I would love to be able to paint any one of my figures. Well, a troop or a character, not necessarily a character. I think they deserve more time. But your basic troops, I want to be able to paint a squad of guys in 100 minutes. A 10-man unit in 100 minutes. Start to finish. I don't know if I'm going to come back in. I might come back and hit the spots up here with some dead white, but I don't know. We're going to wait until that dries. So now we're going to come back here. To our little dude. Clean off my brush. This guy's moving right along. I'm going to grab some electric blue. That's what I like to use of late for my black dry brushing. Don't need a lot of it because it's a small model. And I'm going to use this bigger brush, I guess. Not super big, but I mean bigger as soon as I dry it off a little bit. Grab a little bit of the blue. I'll start right here, I suppose. Too much on it. It's okay. I'll fix that right now. As soon as I finish this. Ooh, I just scraped a whole bunch of paint off me. My brush is starting to not cooperate with me. See, now I got about the right amount of paint on it. Oops. We'll go back over this real quick. I'll touch up those spots that I banged it on really good. Hit this spot here. With some black. Hit these spots here. And the head. Do a good job on the head. Now I'm going to grab my black real quick because I need to touch a couple of these spots up that I messed up. Now, the rest of this will probably fix with a black wash. Down in there. Definitely want that groove to be dark. Maybe hit that spot with some black. And I definitely want the sleeves to be dark. So I'm going to go back in through there with a brush. Just like that. I don't care about the spots that might be hitting light that much. Hit this spot a little bit. Not too heavy. Because there is a higher spot there that travels down the road. Pretty much just like that. Now I'm going to hit this spot and make it darker. Now I'm going to make myself a black wash. Pretty much wash the whole model, leaving the skin alone for now. My wash might be a little too thin, so we're going to give it a... No, I like it. Like I said, we're pretty much going to wash the whole model. Start here, hit this spot down here. Try and leave the green alone mostly. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hit it. At least his little hanky. Face kerchief. See how that kind of made that brass look aged? And then while I'm here, I'm just going to come down here. I'm going to hit these. Hit the spots of the model. It's a good thin wash. So it's going to add a lot of life and character to those folds of the model. So I got some right there. Just kind of take your brush and brush it out. Again, I said I was going to leave the skin alone. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to leave the skin alone because I want to hit it with a flesh wash. Actually, I want to hit it with a dry brush of dead white. I'm going to hit it with a flesh wash first, and then I'm going to hit it with a dry brush of dead white. Pretty much right away. I kind of break all the rules when it comes to washing and dry brushing, which is kind of more of a step towards blending, I guess. Hit his cloak up here. Hit his brass. Take some of that wash off there like that. Hit his brass, just his brass, just his brass, just his brass. Take these out of here a little bit. Try and get some of that out. Brush this down. Brush this down. All the way down. Now I will do one more wash on this guy. Brush this out a little bit more. One more wash and one more dry brush for sure. If you ever do what I just did right there, I don't know if you can see that. Take something like a paper towel or a sponge and try and dab it out of there real quick. It didn't work. Doesn't always work. And I'm going to hit their brass over here too. Like I said, it's starting to look like a model. Trying to hit all these spots in between the gems. Not the easiest thing in the world to do, but well worth it. Guys coming together. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give this a real quick wash. And I am going to use the black on this too. Especially down towards the bottom, I want want it to be a little bit darker, just lightly up the top. And then I'm going to actually take a little bit of my water mix and thin it more. Because I just kind of want it to run into those spots, make it look a little bit muddier. I'm going to grab a paper towel and wipe this off, take off the excess of this wash, especially on the high spots. Take some of this wash off the front, actually. Spread it to the back. Well, my paper towel seemed to be missing, but I found a rag. Just blotch it up a little bit. Boom. I might need to hit that with another dry brush real quick, but we'll see. Now I'm grabbing the dead white, and I'm going to mix it up a little bit with the elf skin tone. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to block the camera. Just a little bit of the skin tone in the white. Actually, more skin tone than white, but because I'm not totally sold on that color for their skin yet. We'll see what the dry brush does. We use the bigger brush again for the dry brush. It's a Kolinsky Zero is what I'm using to paint with mostly. Get his forehead. And his nose. Get his hands. Might be too close. You kind of can't tell I'm doing anything. That's better. If you're new to painting and you're just getting started out, I would recommend that you check out some of the painting DVDs that are out there. Cool Mini or not always has 2 or 3 of them to choose from. I have been studying Laszlo's Hot Lead DVDs. He's got 3 of them. The beginner kit it's really pretty amazing. You can't watch it and not get better if you're not already a professional. And you know, even as professionals, I bet you could share some insight with each other and make things better. Now I'm going to take a little bit of dead white and mix it with the electric blue. Now, in this dry brush, I'm only going to hit the highest spots. So, actually, this might even be more of a highlighting than a dry brush. because of how finely detailed it's going to have to be now. Hit right here a little bit. Take a little bit of that paint off. Hit this side a little bit. Pretty much just like that. Maybe there a little bit. Certainly there a little bit. Up here. Highest spot of the model pretty much. Hit that a little bit heavier. Flip it around, hit this side. Paint's turning into pigment, that's good. That's what you want. Hit the back of the head a little bit. Hit the tip of the head here. Just like that. Just like that. Hit this side just a little. Hit this a little bit. Try and hit in here a little bit more. Sometimes you just gotta brush it on because they're so close together. Like I want to hit these spots a little bit more. And I want to get in here because they're pretty high up. I want to hit them. And it can be rough and yeah, that's about what I want. And I want it over here too. Oops. I want it here too. Ever so lightly, just kind of rub the paint on there. Come back up here. I can hit it heavier at the top because there's going to be more light hitting at the top. Ta-da! That's pretty much. I think I need some more. Yeah, just a little bit more like that. Same thing on the other side. My brush is pretty dry now, so I can hit things a little bit harder to make the highlight. Same thing on the. Oh, I didn't do the back at all. I'm gonna hit the back pretty hard because it's the back. There. Now I'm going to hit it with a wash. And this time the wash is pretty much only going to be on the black. And the wash is going to primarily focus down. So wherever I'm towards the top of the model, I'm only going to do like the bottom half-ish of the model. But I'm going to do it on each portion. Like I'm going to do it on his arms. I'm going to do it on his robe, bottom half. I'm going to do it here on his arm, pretty much from there down, and leave the rest alone. A little bit more. Pretty much from there down. Pretty much from there down. Pretty much from there down. Make sure I got the side. I didn't get this side here. Do that. Do that. And then his head. I'm going to hit his head. Like half his head. Now I'm going to take fluorescent green with my liner. If I can find it. There it is. If I can get my fluorescent green to cooperate. I ordered it in the winter and it was frozen. It's never really wanted to work right. I'm going to take just a drop of it. Well, not even a drop, really. I'm going to go back and I'm going to try and hit the gem with just a dot. Right in the middle to give it more color. This big one here to give it more color. And the big one on the back. I'm going to grab... Oh, I don't have any out here. I'm going to go grab some polished gold. I want these to stand out a little bit more than they do on the bottom. And I'm going to grab some red ink. I no longer have red ink, so I'm not going to do the red ink. A lot of times when you hit golds or brasses with red ink, it really pulls out the metallic of the model. So sadly I can't do that. So now I'm going to hit the spots that I think need to hit with polished gold. Which isn't too terribly many. Now this requires a little bit of finesse because even though they're raised, as you can see, I just screwed it up. I bumped that spot there. Now I'm going to go back over the top and hit the edges a little bit. Try not to hit the robes because you don't want to repaint them. You can see that's making the model pop a lot already. Hit his bracelets. Don't worry about the underside of his bracelets so much, but go ahead and hit them. They're in the shadow, they should be darker. Hit a little bit of a dry brush along the back here. Pop them up, hit the top, hit the top, hit a couple of the high spots, make it look like that's reflection. That guy's done. Oh, no, he's not done. I want to hit him with a dry brush of white real quick on his skin. And then he'll be effectively done because it's a dry brush. I will, because I love the way it looks, grab the flesh color, the flesh wash, and I will flesh wash this guy. But right now, I need to hit the high spots, his nose, his forehead, just a little bit color, maybe this edge here of his hand. Just enough to make it pop. His fingers where there's high spots. It doesn't take a lot. You don't even need a drop of dead white to do this. And you put it on very lightly because as it dries, it's going to dry lighter, and it's really going to do a good job of blending with the model and the fleshes around it, the flesh tones. Normally I paint their skin green first. I didn't do that on this model for some reason. I don't know why. Needs a little bit of white back in the hole. Back in the hole there. And I'm going to grab, where's it at? A little bit of that fluorescent green real quick, because I still have some of it. And mix it in with a little bit of this white. And I'm going to hit this guy's. Just dry brush real quick. This is actually really tough to dry brush. I mean, I should not have given his mask a green wash. But I can go ahead and dry brush this with a little bit of this white fluorescent green mix and give it a lot more depth of color. Because right now it looks like he's almost wearing a brown mask. And that's not what I wanted. So I'm just going to dry brush it. If I need to, I can come back and dry brush it again. He's already starting to show that he's got more color from this dry brush. There. He's effectively done. Let's take a look at his base. It's a little bit washed out. So I'm going to grab some of that dead white I was using with another brush. Actually with the flat brush that I was using. I'm going to brush it out real good. And I'm going to hit some of those high spots with this brush. I'm going to test this brush is pretty beat up. So it's kind of a good one to dry brush with and sometimes kind of not. This brush is beat. That's okay, it's going to dry fine. I firmly believe that. That part, I'm just going to take a little bit of the brown that I had from earlier, the brown flesh tone mix, and just put a dab right in the middle. Got to get some on the brush first. Same here, brush it down a little bit. Wherever I think that I have a little too much white, I'm just going to look at that with real quick. Dry brush back over it, blend it back in better. There you go. I don't know how long I've been painting. I don't have a watch here, but that is the Circle of Orberus Celestial Fulcrum Battle Engine Acolyte in, I'm going to guess 35 to 40 minutes. That's one of 3. It's a pretty extensive model. If you don't already have it, it's a good model. It's cool. It's neat. If you don't play hordes like me, it is fun to paint. It's a fun one to paint. So, thank you for watching. Matt Lemke with Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com. If you have any questions, ask us, please. We look forward to hearing from you, and we want you to ask questions and engage us. Tell us we're doing a terrible job. Tell us we're doing a good job. Let us know. We're here for you. Have a good day.